it doesn't take long to peel back a young man's kind of suffering. First of all, one of the things they're struggling with and they don't know what to do with is how harmful they are to their loved ones. Like once the fog clears and they can kind of look back at what they've done, they're suffering with shame and guilt, yeah? Shame and guilt towards family, anger and resentments towards the kind of people that have been around them. In my experience, parents tend to do is, just like the addict, blame someone or something else for what's going on. So in my case, I remember, it was, you're hanging out with that guy. Why don't you hang out with the other guy who plays the guitar? He's really, really nice, that kid who plays the guitar. Never mind that guy with the long hair that listens to that music. So there's this kind of constant seek for what is going on around them that's doing this harm to my child, because it's no way that this is my child's choice. I've raised them, and that would directly reflect my parenting, Long behold, at the same time, the kid's doing exactly the same thing. So the clients want some boundaries. They want they want to start earning their trust. They want to start earning the right to, not go to the gym today. They want to earn their right to say an opinion, for that to kind of sit well. And that's a lot of what kind of early recovery in a place like the Edge is like. It is full of boundaries. The second bit I always say to clients and families is it's also a place where you're training into do things you don't like doing, and if you ask a 6-7-year-old or a 4-year-old, they're banging on the floor going, I don't want to do this and I don't want to go there, and this is not fair, and my favorite TV program is off, why do I have to go there? Who skipped to school, or who skipped to grandma's for lunch on a Sunday? We just did what we needed to do. There's a very, very low tolerance in clients in early recovery to do things that they don't like doing. The big switch with the Edge is you're up in the morning, you're more involved and more responsible for your surroundings, the place you're staying at, and the people that you're living with. And then the next bit is you're out doing something physical. Yeah, so you got to think you're out of bed at 7:30, you've had breakfast by 8:30 and kind of tidied your room, and at 8:45, 9 o'clock, you're on the bicycle and you're going for a 45-minute kind of run with the group, or you're doing a hike together, or a run or something. So there is something around waking up in a very rigorous way, kind of triggering those endorphins, like really kind of getting us out into nature and bringing the team together and checking if I'm better, if I'm doing better this week than I was doing last week. Did I do it in a better time, or did I climb higher? It's a very, very important part of this program. What's different is it's allowed to be loud. It's allowed to be boisterous. It's allowed to be humorous. It's allowed to have all that banter that's been missing from these lads. I always say to people, there's 3 questions I ask people I haven't seen in a long time that have, I've known as clients. I say, are you clean and sober? They say yes. I move to question 2, which is, are you finding it easy? And if not, we talk about it. If yes, my 3rd question is, are you enjoying it? If getting out of that world of using drugs and the behaviors that come with it doesn't make life better, why would you do it? They all really appreciated and respected the way I treated them. Like, I had very little tolerance for their boisterous behavior, but at the same time, the minute they would achieve something, I'm the first person to run out there and go, give them my hand or pull them aside and go, I'm really, really proud of you. So I worked really well with the youth, and they really kind of tuned in. And even though they tend to be wild and boundaryless, that was my calling. I know how fucking difficult that feeling is. Being angry and right is probably one of the most powerful feelings for me, be it early in recovery, be it out there in life. I kind of break it down. I kind of will give the person a bit of psychoeducation around it, because I'm going, you're right, you're absolutely right. But you might even die. You might lose your job. You might end up divorced because you're right. So we have a kind of a saying in kind of this industry where we go, are you looking to be right, or are you looking to be well? So kind of, I explained that anger and right almost like a black stallion in the middle of a field. And this is a horse you need to approach and kind of give it a nice little pat, get to know it before you ride it. Otherwise, it is going to throw you all over. I've done some of the worst things that I'm embarrassed of when I was angry and I was right. I just couldn't get my message across, because in that moment where you feel angry and right, there's just that touch of relief from all the other times where you were wrong. Ooh, it's kind of got so many parts to it. And one of the important parts for me is I'm going back to, the place I grew up in, and I'm bringing something that I've worked in before, and I think it does magic. I really like the Edge program. I really believe in it, and I've seen it. I still speak to loads of lads nowadays that have, either had a family or are moving on, and you kind of go, that's incredible, because I remember when I first met you, you had a black eye and you couldn't even open your eyes for about 5 days because, you thought you were going to die from detox. And today you're a parent with a functioning job. So a lot of it is, bringing that kind of, that program back to the place where I come from. I think there is something around kind of bringing it back to Greece, because, the way we kind of looked at it, either be it that, the Spartans, the men that from young age were kind of prepared for one thing and were trained and were guided and were shown, or then you look at, what was it, that movie, The 300, where kind of Leonidas, kind of 300 of them killed about 5,000. Why? Because he was smart. Not because they had massive muscles and tattoos and guns in their pockets, because they were clever. They kind of thought ahead. So a lot of that stuff comes in. And then kind of the latter bit that I've been talking a lot with my colleague is that that journey, around Ulysses, where he leaves home, he goes on all these missions. When you hear kind of that side of the world, Greece, there's a lot of kind of history around it. Where we're based in Crete, specifically, is where the Minotaur was, where he disappeared, and half this, lovely stuff. Letting go of your, in many times it's a spouse, but most times it's a child of somebody. Letting go of your child for, a period of 8, 12, 16 weeks, is not an easy task, both for the child, for the kid, but also for the family. So kind of bringing that closer to Europe suddenly just makes Europe around our doorstep. We're 2 hours away. You can visit, you can attend our family program, you can get a sense of where they're going to. An addict at their kind of rock bottom has lost connection and meaning. Yeah, but that's historical. A person lying under the bridge with a bottle of whiskey has lost connection and meaning. Nobody wants to be around them, and they don't want to be around anyone. They don't find anything common with people around them. Even addicts with addicts. If you see the progression of addiction, everyone ends up alone. It starts out with 12 people in a pub or 12 people in a room smoking a spliff, but you fast forward that, they're all alone with a full ashtray in their houses, looking out the window. So you need to give that to the young people. They want connection, they're craving it, and then meaning. I can't make Tim be the fastest runner in the Edge. It's just not what I was built for, But Tim is good at this or at that or the other, and kind of finding what their niche is and feeding more and more of it. But it's amazing. I always said, once you steer a young person in the right direction, I just love watching them gallop. It's not even, and then they will keep walking. There's no walking there. They gallop. They just go for it.